I think God gives you a really beautiful rear view mirror that you can see where his hands were the entire time. You're allowed to look back and watch where his footprints are. Forward, I have no idea, but and I can see, look, he was going to allow me and allow me to make a lot of different decisions and choices, but he was always going to have me be me.
What is up, Impact Heroes? Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Rick Ornelas. Thank you for spending some time with us today because we know time's a valuable resource and we're going to make it worth your while. I appreciate each and every one of you, not just for listening, but for who you are. I know you're sparking change to make the world a better place every day, and I am humbled and grateful for your efforts. It takes all of us doing our part to spread positive change, and that's what this show is all about. Motivating you with stories of struggle, courage, and hope to empower you to make a difference in your life and the lives of others.
In case you missed it,
just the act of saying, okay, I'm going to focus on gratitude. I'm going to make it a part of my life. I'm going to look for ways to be grateful. I think that's important. As we start out this month of November, when this show is airing, that's Thanksgiving time and a time.
Available everywhere you listen to your podcasts.
Welcome back, Impact Heroes. Today we have the pleasure of speaking to our latest iSpark Change social impact hero, and he is a cool one indeed. Our guest today wants to be the Morpheus to your Neo. He's someone who seemingly had it all, but instead of being happy, was in the grips of alcoholism and addiction. He's learned many difficult lessons through his journey, but he was shown the way out, and now he's here to help you find your way. He's not only in shape physically, but also spiritually, as he knows all of these muscles need to be healthy, strong, and fit, up here and down here. His mission is to help you crack through your fears, your denials, and connect you to your enthusiasm. He wants to show you the way and to train you to be the one. He's a certified life coach and recovery mentor and a #1 best-selling author and speaker. Please welcome the authentic, cool, compassionate creator of the Hero Project, Adam Jablin. Adam, welcome to the iSpark Change podcast.
Thank you, brother. What a nice introduction. If I didn't know myself, I would be impressed.
You'd be like, hey, I want to meet that guy.
Yeah, too bad I know myself.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that you appreciate it because I take pride in my intros as my guests come on and they honor me with their time and presence. And so I want to honor them with giving them a proper introduction. So,
thank you, bro. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. So, we were kind of chatting off air, having a good old time. And I was like, well, we better hit record before we, talk about everything and realize, oh man, I never recorded the show. So one of the reasons that we connected and that I wanted to have you on the show is because we see you, Adam, as someone that is spreading positive change in the world, which is what iSpark Change is all about. Someone whose actions have a ripple effect and a positive effect on humanity, someone that we call a social impact hero by our definition, which is an acronym, and we'll get through that in our conversation somewhat. But the first question I have for you is, do you see yourself as a hero?
I do. And I think I say that with humility, not with arrogance, right? So I was taught, I used to think humility was the way Christopher Reeve portrayed Clark Kent in Superman, which was like, oh, gee, shucks, Lois, and and like kind of always putting yourself down. But then also knowing that you were a badass and then like winking at the camera and catching the bullet. But what that really is when you're a normal person, you're not a superhero, it's passive aggressive behavior. It's playing yourself down and then like showing everyone you're going to dominate. Then I was taught true humility is showing God's true work within you, like doing the best you can for God. And through the trials and the tribulations and the tragedies and the triumphs that I've gone through and helping other people, I'm not saying that my hero's journey is complete. I'm not saying that I'm the final package of what God, has in store for me, but I do believe that I'm living that path, and I feel very comfortable with that title.
I love your answer because it resonates with me a lot. I used to feel the same way. I used to think, I need to lessen myself, to than others, to be humble, and then I learned the Hebrew word anava, which means for humility, which means to take up your God-given place in the world, and it really connects with what you're saying, because it's about, doing the work that God wants you to do and living that purpose that he has for us. And you can still be heroic in that regard, right? It doesn't mean that you have to be less or anything, or, go from here to here, that you can, always be heroic. So you're already sold. I don't even have to sell you during the rest of the interview.
And I think we both realize, there's obviously the idea of superheroes, and then there are heroes that are very easy for society to help us see. Someone like a Tom Brady and a Michael Jordan, and you could see that, or some political figures, or Maya Angelou and Mother Teresa and Nelson Mandela. But then there are those everyday heroes, the teachers, the moms, the dads, the police officers, the soldiers. I think so. But it's a title that really goes for somebody that has enough courage to walk through that fear.
Yeah, exactly. Is that where I know, I've noticed Superman, with your book, and then also, you have the graphic on the wall there. Where does that come from, or the connection with Superman?
Yeah, I'll try to make this as tight and as short as possible. This is a weird, strange fascination ever since I literally was born, and the first picture of me on the earth is, my mother holding me with an S on my chest, what I mean? And I don't know how it stuck, but there was always this fascination in wanting to be, Superman and saving lives and helping people and superpowers and flying, just a little boy's fascination that would turn into an obsession that never left. You know what I mean? So if you look at my high school yearbook, it was, everyone called me Superman, and, at Arizona State and all that stuff. But what I learned over the years and through time was there was some fascination with this character that, one, kryptonite was alcohol and drugs for me, no doubt about it. But if you want to torture me in the way I really am, you put Lois Lane over here and you put a bomb in Metropolis and you say, choose.
Yeah.
You want to crush my soul? That's what you did. I can't be everything to everyone. I can't save everyone. You know what I mean? It's sometimes a very lonely, painful place to have those burdens and responsibilities. You need to know when to take the cape off and put the glasses on. There's a lot about this guy that has resonated in my life. So I don't know if God kind of, installed this or imprinted this version of like this could be some sort of, imprint of how you're going to live or whatnot. But really, I used to think it was about the muscles and the superpowers and the looks, but really, at the end of the day, it's about saving lives.
So I want to go back to one thing you were saying in there about, the most difficult thing for you would be, making that choice. Yeah. Where is that something that has always been a struggle for you, or is that something that is still a struggle, or that you've gotten past, or where does that come from?
I think it's always been a struggle. I think it comes from, it's a great question, by the way, because when I was younger, it actually made me feel very feminine, right? Like always loving on people, always caring about people, always right? I felt very feminine with it, to be honest. Mm-hmm. I mean, I was the kind of guy that, like, if we were boxing after, I competed and I would win, but I would show you what I did. I remember playing football, and I would always wrap the person up right. And my coaches would scream at me, Javlin, lay him out, like scream at me. And I would help my opponent up, and my coach would just get at my feet, like, what's wrong with you? Like, and it made me feel very feminine. And I'm not a feminine guy. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with it, but like, I didn't understand why I had this compassion. It made me hate myself. Now, to answer that question I think what happened throughout the years of maturing was At one time, it maybe was, I want to be everything for everyone. And then it may have turned into actually some form of people pleasing. And then I couldn't release that anxiety because I want to be here for this person, here for that person. So, drinking, that would just calm it down. I never learned how to say no. I never learned how to understand where my limitations were. I didn't understand what the word boundaries meant. None of that. And yeah, I still have it today. I don't think I have it in the form of people pleasing. I don't think I have it in the fear of missing out, but I do have it in that I care for a lot of people and I have a lot of responsibilities. And there are times when, trust me, I have a client over here and I have something for my kids. And, obviously kids always will come first, but there is that part of me aching that this client really needs help.
Yeah, there's that pull. And I can definitely understand that, being a coach as well and having done that for many years as well, that's been a struggle for me too in my marriage with my kids about, always want to be the person that, fixes and helps and everything. And you can't always do that for others. So talk about, every hero has their quote unquote origin story, where they come from, right? For Superman, it's coming from what is the planet where he's
Krypton.
Krypton. Yeah. Coming from Krypton and being sent, to the earth and all that stuff. So what's your origin story of how you really got to be doing, the quote unquote heroic work that you're doing now, or, how you got through some of the issues of, the alcoholism and things like that?
Yeah, I'll try to summarize it, right? So the true origin story would start as a young kid from Tenafly, New Jersey, right by the George Washington Bridge. And, I
did detect some accent, but I was, okay.
Some people, a lot of people tell me that I don't. It's funny that I still have it. Some people really hear it. Some people don't hear it at all. It's interesting. But listen, the best childhood you could ever imagine. In the 80s, we're all on our bikes. Pre 9/11, everything's like safe. It was like, it's almost like a movie. And the thing that made me feel strange and weird was I was the fat kid. I was the heavy kid. My dad would call me El Chubbo. There was a movie called The Goonies back when I was growing up. And this kid Chunk would do the Chunk Shuffle, and my friends would ask me to do, and I just hated the way I looked, and I hated my appearance. But it did give me the gift of being very charismatic, reading people very well, because I could tell when they were about to tease me or make a joke, so I would be funnier, and I would want to make them laugh with me instead of at me, and very a class clown kind of personality. And I moved down to Boca Raton, Florida in 1986. I'm 10, 11 years old, where it's beautiful every day and you can have your shirt off and it's hot, and I just hated it, and I was the kid from Jersey, and I'm wearing my shirt in the pool and it's still sticking to my fat, and you know what I mean? But I'll never forget, my mom started buying me Flex magazine and Muscle and Fitness magazine, and my dad showed me Rocky III, and I remember thinking, at that in this movie, Sylvester Stallone is just like shredded, and he's fighting Mr. T. Nowadays, everybody at CrossFit looks like this, but when I was a kid, it was a spectacle. And I just remember thinking, if I can look like that, all my problems would go away. That's literally how I thought. You know what I mean? And like that was my first commandment. It wasn't like thou shalt not kill. It was like, if I can look like that, all my problems will go away. And in 4 short years, I went from being the fattest kid in the class to the best built kid in the class. I went from guys going, yo, man, how many Oreos did you eat last night? To, yo, dude, how much can you bench press? You know what I mean? And the girls liked me. Everything changed. Hormones, you know what I mean? Maturity. I'm working out. I got the best body in school. But what happened was with the muscles and with the charisma and with the coordination now, I was able to hang out with the older kids. And the older kids were experimenting and playing. There was no, what do they call it, peer pressure or anything like that. When you're younger and you're hanging out with older kids, it feels like you're hanging out with gods. They can just do more. They have more permission. They seem cooler. They're about to go to college, whatever it is. And I just remember them passing me a drink or passing whatever it was, and I drank it and broke it. Fixed something inside of me I did not know was broken. It fixed it. And all of a sudden, all those insecurities and fears and doubts and all that was always in my head, it went away. Right. And the class clown didn't have to be there anymore. And it was like, it just like, it went away. And I was like, I'm here. I mean, and I remember, I literally remember looking down my body, like being like, what the hell? Like all that anxiety and that worry went away. And I was like, yo, Superman is here. Because all of that stress finally left. And I just dedicated my life, as much as I was into fitness and into girls, and I dedicated my life to that feeling. I was the first kid in my high school with a fake driver's license. It was in Iowa. It was terrible, but they would serve me out in the boonies. And I would bring beers and wine coolers and whatever it was for everybody. I went to Arizona State University because it was the #1 party school in Playboy and Penthouse magazine back in the 90s. And I dominated there. I mean, as dedicated as I was to anything else, I was dedicated to partying. And it really worked. And what I found worked was also the thing that made me suffer and crumble in the end and was taking my life away. And I get intervened when I'm 30 years. I work hard, play hard. I'm in a family business with the #1 lace manufacturer in the world. This was not, I was raised by a different old school family. This was not like, oh, you're part of the family. This was like, you started the janitor, then you learn yarn inventory, then you learn quality control, then you learn to be a mechanic, then you learn then you learn shipping, then you learn what our secretaries do, then you come up in the design and you learn how we design the lace. I need to know every piece of that operation. First one there, last one to leave. Your last name is Javlin. It was hard. And you know what I mean? I had not just the pressure of understanding this business, but I had the pressure of living up to my family's reputation. And we drank hard. And before you knew it, I ended up at 30 years old in an intervention. And my whole life changed, bro. And I finally, in rehab, I finally became the man, or I awakened to the man that I was always supposed to be. And I learned about spirituality and trauma and steps and inner child work and caring for other people. And get this, make the appropriate face with the appropriate emotion. Do you know that's how broken I was? I didn't even understand. I would smile at everybody. I want to fucking kill you. I'm smiling, right? You're bothering me. I'm smiling. I'm winking. I'm happy. I'm smiling. I'm sad inside. I'm devastated. I'm smiling. Here was Adam, and here were my emotions. I was so detached from wanting to be popular, wanting to be the muscle kid, wanting to get laid, wanting to get wasted. I was so detached that putting me back together was weird. Like, why are you always smiling if you're thinking about your grandmother that's dead? I don't know. I was a broken human being. And they slowly put me back together. And dude, I attacked my recovery with more emphasis than I did in anything else in my life, more than the gym, more than drinking, more than the family business. And it just awakened me to who I really am. And that's how I'm here with you today.
Thank you for sharing all that, first off, because, I know that's all very personal. And, I know you've shared it before, but that still doesn't mean that it diminishes everything that you had to go through, right? That's still very personal and challenging and, traumatic in many ways. And there's, what you can sum up in a story of a few minutes is years of your life and hardship and difficulty. And so I don't want to gloss over that. I would like you to share, Adam, if you don't mind, just how long did that process take? Because, I've spoken with other people that, it's a lot of ups and downs, the recovery process and, relapses and everything. How was that process? And I saw that with my father, who, was an alcoholic for decades, of his life. How long did that process take for you?
So there's a lot of different ways to answer this question, right? So if you want to look at getting clean and sober and never picking up an alcohol and drug, it happened that minute. It happened that moment I surrendered. It happened the moment I truly asked God. It actually came in a version of something called the parallel process I experienced. It was the day I really surrendered in rehab, which was day 9. And the many you may have experienced, some people have experienced, some people have not. But you literally, something happens in your life that shakes you to the core that you literally, it's almost like you're living your life in a movie. And I saw 2 of me. Mm-hmm. And this one guy that got on the phone with now my ex-wife and said, and that's a whole other story, right? Because and it was on the phone, was like, listen, pick my ass up. I don't give a shit what you say. Get the divorce papers, blah, blah, blah. Just this angry, I'm right, you're wrong. And I saw this other version of me, and he picked up the phone and admitted that he needed help. And I didn't know if I had to be baptized, bar mitzvah again, wear a yarmulke, you know what I mean, devote my life to Christ. I didn't know what, I didn't know if I had to be poor, give about poverty, but I knew that guy was sober. And I jumped into that guy with both feet. Now, so that was the day that I never touched alcohol and drugs again. You could say I relapsed on choices, you know. I mean, there was a time where, you know, I'm like 4 or 5 years sober, and my wife would say, did you take the garbage out? And I'm like, oh, yeah. I didn't take the garbage out. I'm waiting for her to leave the room. And then I wasn't comfortable with being who I really am yet, you know? So that's the part that was like this, you know, learning who I am, learning my values, learning, you know, being, you know, I hate to admit it, but even my divorce from my ex-wife, we had a 20-year marriage. There was no infidelity. There was nothing like that. This was my recovery was what triggered that too. She's like, this is not what I want my life to be about. Mm-hmm. I mean, and I understood. I truly, truly understood. But recovery is like this because life is like that. But I don't want to give anybody the impression that this means that you have to relapse.
Yeah. Right. I think that's an excellent point. Because it's things, you know, it takes on different versions for different people. And for some people, it means, you know, relapse like it did for my father. For others, it means, you know, not quite being your true self like it did for you and, you know, in other aspects. So in that, a lot of people say, and this is how it was for me, is that, you know, do I feel I was being my true self for, you know, most of my life? Maybe, or, you know, the better part of my life, maybe. But do I feel I was living my purpose and doing what God had, you know, has called me to do? I had to figure that out. I had to, you know, figure that out and create that and everything and create that purpose on a daily basis and really, really change my, you know, outlook on life. So do you feel that, what was it for you? Was it that you, after you went through your recovery process, that you said, okay, now I know what my purpose is? Or was this something that you felt was always there and you were ignoring it, or you were just, you know, live it in different, you know, capacities, but not fully? How was it for you? And what is your purpose?
Yeah. So I feel like we probably are very similar in this respect, right? So I think that the beauty, especially, you know, we're very aligned, we think aligned, the way we speak, you and I, we heroic stuff. I think God gives you a really beautiful rear view mirror that you can see where his hands were the entire time. You're allowed to look back and watch where his footprints are. Forward, I have no idea, you know, but I can see, look, he was going to allow me and allow me to make a lot of different decisions and choices, but he was always going to have me be me. Maybe I didn't have to be an alcoholic and addict. Maybe I could have, you know, I want to serve people, and maybe I could have really jumped into personal training and thriving and helping people in fitness. You know what I mean? That was a passion of mine. But he was going to get me to help and serve in some way capacity. You know what I mean? And those were where my free will came in, was what was serving me at the time. Mm-hmm. You know, so so we have some deal, him and I, and I'm here to do his work. And I said, yeah, well, you know what? I'm kind of enjoying this alcohol and drug thing. So, and he said, okay, go ahead, play, because those are the people you'll end up helping. Go ahead, have some fun. You know what I mean? So I think there's a cooperation and a relationship there. But I do think no matter what, at the end, he was going to have me not be about myself. It wasn't going to be the Adam show. I wasn't going to be wearing number 23. I wasn't going to have 6 championships. I wasn't going to have my own sneaker line. It wasn't going to be all about me. You know what I mean? That's just not why he put me here. You know, he put Michael there. You know, he put Kobe there for that. You know, but that's not why I'm here. And so I don't know how else to answer that other than I think no matter what, he would have gotten me to do what he wants me to do.
And I think that I appreciate you answering so honestly, because I think that for a lot of people, and, you know, I think I was that way for a while, is, and you did, it sounds like you did too. You tuned God out, right? You tuned God out and you say, okay, I know that that's what I should be doing, but I'm going to go do this over here because this is more enjoyable. This is more pleasurable. And, you know, we have to come to that realization. And the beautiful thing about all the people that I have on this show is that, you know, whether it was early, you know, whether it was something very early in life where they came to that realization, or whether it was, you know, after 50 years or 60 years, is that for a lot of us, and, you know, hopefully for most people, is that they can get to that point in life. They can get to that point where they realize that they're living in their purpose every day. So what advice would you give? I mean, you're a coach, you work with people, you talk about this stuff, I'm imagining a lot. What advice would you give to someone that is still in that struggle mode, that doesn't feel like they're living in that purpose, that doesn't feel like they're being a hero, what advice would you give to them?
My favorite question, right? Because I can identify with. That struggling, that hell, that thinking it won't work for me, that starting to obsess about anything else on the outside because the inside's so broken, so hyper-focusing on fitness and then going from vegan to paleo, from paleo to keto, from CrossFit to marathon running, from marathon running to bodybuilding. What is going to fix me? What is going to do? You know what I mean? I'm going to watch Joe Rogan. Okay, now I'm Patrick. Now I'm going to watch this guy. Now I'm going to devour all his content. I'm going to devour, because you can't get well here. You can't align here. So what the fuck is going to fix me something, right? And again, you're eventually going to end up to your baby, which for a lot of people that find me is some form of alcohol and drugs and some form of dependency on something else. Mm-hmm. And what I say is to finally have the courage to say to somebody, I need help. I'm willing to do it. You know, you have to reach out for help. Because what a lot of people are trying to do with all that stuff that I was saying is that they're trying to do it on their own. They're trying to put enough content in their head, read the right book, find the right person to turn into God, be it whatever the latest podcast is, try to find that new nutritional idea, that next supplement. They're trying to find that thing, but what they really need is to have another, you know, God made so many of us because we heal in pairs. We heal in pairs. And it's that willingness to say, you know what, I'm willing to say you may have the answers, you know, or you may be, at least you may be the right guide, the right mentor for right now. And I'm willing to put my life in your hands. You know what I mean? And that's what it takes. That's what it really takes. It takes a willingness.
I chuckled earlier because everything you're talking about was resonating so much with me, and because we have similar interests, and I've grabbed onto so many of those same things in my journey, and always looking outside instead of being introspective and saying, okay, no, actually the change needs to start with me, and that's the realization that I got to, which is what you're sharing right here, and it's beautiful advice for anyone, because I think what makes it even more challenging is, like you said, Adam, there's so much available to us. There's so much out there. There's books and videos and podcasts, and there's just, we are overburdened with information. We have such an access to information and to the world that it makes it easy to say, oh, I can find this here, I can find this there, I can find that, somewhere else. And I know in my obsessive nature, even though I'm the son of an alcoholic, I've never struggled with alcohol or drugs. Where I have struggled is with being getting obsessed in CrossFit, getting obsessed, in some other areas at the, and ignoring my family, right? Ignoring my family, or, not spending time with my kids, and different things that I've done throughout the years when I was younger in sports and all that stuff. And it's like you were saying, it's always looking outside instead of looking in the mirror. And that's when it changed for me. That's when it sounds like it changed for you. And hopefully it will help others that are listening, to change.
Yeah. And I think it's also very healthy to admit, that we're also all a work in progress. I think one of the reasons I'm able to identify so well with my clients is because I am them. And I get it. I totally get it. And I have people that hold me accountable, and I have a mentor, and I have a coach, and I do these things because I feel like if I'm going to be one, I don't want to be like I walk on water and I'm better than, I need to be held to the same standards. If I'm asking you to do this, you better know that I'm doing this as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one thing I've shared with all my clients. I've said, I never will ask you to do anything that I either am not actively doing or, haven't done. And even when I was coaching CrossFit, same thing. I was like, I would, pushing them to do some crazy thing. I'm like, nope, I've done it, or I'm going to do it with you.
Yeah.
Do it with you.
Yeah.
So you're one of the things that I think I'm getting a feel for, Adam, that you do very well is in our acronym of HERO is the R, which is ripples their message to spread positive change. And what that means is that for all of us, our mess is our message, and it's our life stories that connect us to each other in what I call our beautiful flossomeness. We're all flawed, we're all awesome. And it's our duty to share those lessons that we've learned along the way in our hero's journey in the service of others. And that's what you do. It sounds like what you do every day now, is that you're taking what you've learned in your journey and you're using that to help others.
That's it, bro. That's exactly what I'm doing, and I take them, I have what I've done in the Hero Project is I've taken principles from the hero's journey, from the 12 steps of recovery, from Tony Robbins, who's took me under his wing, to all these different modules, and I put them in a system that I found work for the people that want that are, what's the right word, attracted to me. Mm-hmm. Right, that are attracted to my message and what I'm about. And it took time to develop, and and to admit it openly, some of it I was developing even with my early clients, not realizing, this is working. That didn't really work. I like this aspect of that. But what happened is client after client, reward after reward, good outcome after good outcome, I started really fine tuning. But I know this works 100% of the time. And I know this works 100% of the time. And I know this works. This one worked 70% of the time with this, with this module, with this type of person. This worked 50% of the time with this kind of avatar, So there are certain things that if you're a dad or you're a mom or you're, but within the hero's journey, we'll always hit certain things, mm-hmm. Always hit certain things. So yeah, that's what I do. That's what I do. And I do it on myself as well, by the way, because I got to tell you, the entrepreneurial journey is a motherfucker.
Yes.
So I was raised in a family business, and bro, I can't tell you how much I love and respect my grandfather and my father. And we dominated. And here's the truth of that. For people that need to understand how this looked for me, I was the backup quarterback, and I had been doing reps my entire life. So when it was my time, all I had to do was make the throws and make the plays. But here's the truth. The team was built, the stadium was built, the players were there. My job was to make the throws, just make it every time. So I was as good, if not just a little better, but at least as good as my father and grandfather. But I didn't build it. the Hero Project, I'm building from the ground up. So a lot of things that I do with other people, I'm also applying in my own life because I never built something from scratch before.
Yeah.
And it's different. I'm much better at running a multi-million-dollar empire with 500 employees, one plant, 2 12-hour shifts, one plant, 3 8-hour shifts, getting all the invoices out, the yarn inventories in, making sure everyone has workman's comp for the forklift. I can run a multi-million-dollar operation with my eyes closed, building something from scratch, all brand new. So I'm going through that journey as well.
Yeah. And I can appreciate that you sharing that, because we have a lot of entrepreneurs that listen to the show, and they know that journey is not easy. They know that there are going to be the pitfalls and the trials and tribulations and the dragons to slay. And, to acknowledge that, it means a lot, because they'll, you have had a lot of success and will continue to have success, but that doesn't come easy. It takes a lot of work.
No, it doesn't come easy. It really doesn't come easy. So I appreciate where everybody really is. You know what I mean? And I love telling people the truth. Because to a lot of people, it's a really, I'm wondering if this is my age now. I don't know if you ever feel like this. I have this love-hate relationship with social media, in which it's done nothing but amazing things for me. And it's truly even introduced me to some of the people I've always wanted to meet. And yet there is this, I almost see myself like sometimes getting lost in it, almost, and then these comparing games, forgetting these people are human too, and they're showing me a highlight reel.
Yeah. And
then also understanding that, and I'm not knocking it, I have to appreciate its value, but also about 80% of what I'm seeing is fake.
Yeah.
And that's hard for me, you know what I mean? And the reason I'm saying that is when you're on your journey and you're having a struggle that day, man, put that phone down. Put that phone down. If you're having a struggle, if you're in a winning mode, go ahead, play, have fun, because your spirits are high. Nothing's going to take you off. But if you're you're going to see somebody doing something that you feel like they're doing it better than you. They're more successful than you, and it can really lower your spirit. And it's not them; it's your own thoughts taking over. Mm-hmm. It's not even them. It's the doubts and the fears and the anxieties in the human mind.
Yeah,
and I'm here.
And it goes back to what I was saying about that accessibility to information. We have accessibility to everyone's life 24/7 at all times, when it's not an accurate portrayal. Yeah. And that comparison, game is such a dangerous one to play. So thank you very much for sharing that.
Of course.
But one thing I as we kind of get to the end here, there's a few things that I want to ask that we ask all our guests on the iSpark Change podcast, because we've coined a term on the show, what we call a spark moment. And these spark moments of life are times where our actions have a ripple effect that goes far beyond the initial act, or someone else's actions, towards us have that ripple effect. So share a story that's a example of that ripple effect, a spark moment in your life where someone impacted you, and that ripple effect has had a positive impact, way beyond that initial act, or even where you've impacted someone else in a similar way.
I'd have to say it was just a few years ago, and my mentor, who's like a spiritual father to me, his name is Dion. He's a rock and roll Hall of Famer. A lot of people know him from his songs The Wanderer and Run Around Sue and Ruby Baby and Abraham, Martin and John, and the list goes on. And he's a legend. And he really took me under his wing. And when I was making this transition out of the lace business, I really didn't know what I was going to do. I really didn't, and I didn't know about coaching, and I didn't know about any of this. And he looked at me. He was like, "What are you talking about?" I said, "What do you mean you don't know what you're going to do?" I'm like, "D, I really don't know what I'm going to do." He's like, "You're going to be Adam." He's like, "You're going to influence people's thoughts to a higher reality." And his faith in me meant so much, and his direction meant so much. He didn't lay out, "Oh, you'll call it the Hero Project," or he just had that faith and and that just having somebody that you look up to so much see you of who you really are, that's what I try to do for my clients. Because I couldn't see who I was and where I was going to go. I had no idea. And he could see it. So that would be the ripple effect.
Yeah, thank you. Because it's something that, you know, at the time you may not have realized the influence that he was having until, you know, later you have to go through all that. And yeah, we often stress the importance of mentors and the value of mentors. And, you know, I have some and coaches and everything myself and know they're immensely valuable. And they've had tons of spark moments for me. And I'm sure you've had many for you.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. You know, I mean, there's a ton, right? There's the humility, right? Here's my humility and my ego. You ready? I'll show you exactly who I am. There was the humility of, you know what, if I'm going to get good at this coaching thing, because I have this naturally, but I don't have it. I not the way that I know I could really, really help somebody on call every single time. Jimmy, if it was the steps of recovery, yes, but like coaching in all areas of life. So the humility was, I was going to learn. Where does my ego come in? Well, if I'm going to go, I'm not going to some fucking coach. If I'm learning how to shoot a basketball, I'm going to Michael Jordan. So I got lined up with Tony. You know what I mean? And got put in his inner circle. You know what I mean? Like, because that's my fucking ego. I don't give a fuck about your social media and who the fuck you say you are. This guy started the whole industry. He's the one that his name is synonymous with it. I'm going to him, go fuck yourself. That's the side of Adam Jablin that got me successful. The sweetness is what helps me help people. You know what I mean? But I do have that. If I'm going to learn, I want to go to the best.
Yeah, I love that.
And those are the weird personalities that are all in my head.
And they're serving you well. So,
yeah.
You know, yeah, and that's being true to your authentic self. So,
yeah.
So thank you. So where can our audience learn more about you? Where can they connect with you, learn more about you, Adam?
Yeah, bro. So at Adam Jablin on all platforms, you can learn about myself. You can learn about the Hero Project. You know, you can and you know, book a call and we can do a deep dive into what they're going through, and I have a team and everything. But truly, I do love to meet people where they're at.
Okay, fantastic. We'll make sure all of that is in the show notes. So thank you very much. Cool.
That'd be great.
So, one final question that we ask all our guests, because our goal at iSpark Change is to impact 1 billion people over the next few years with our community and our future social impact social media platform that we are building right now. And we know we can't do it alone. We know we need the help of impactful leaders like yourself to show others the way, because many people feel, as I used to, that they're too small to make a difference. So we value your thoughts and opinions as a social impact hero. And so I'm going to ask you to peer into the future, peer into our iSpark Change crystal ball, and tell me, what can the world become if everyone starts being true to themselves and living in that purpose?
Oh, man. It could become God's playground, right? It could be God's playground. Can you imagine? You know, you really find what you're supposed to do and you're having the best time doing it, but you're also showing others that are attracted to that. So if you're surfing, or if you're fitness guys like you and I, or if you're, you know, you just love to garden and you love the outdoors, or if you're like a computer guy and you just love to geek out on the computer or video games or AI, or, do you know what I mean? Like if you really just find that calling and you keep all the outside noise out and you don't compare yourself, and it's not always about how important you can look and how significant you can feel, but you're doing what you love every day and at the same time sharing it, and then everyone's doing that in their own little sandboxes, you know? That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I love the name for it, God's Playground. That's fantastic.
Yeah,
because it's
right?
It's a beautiful thing to envision. So thank you for painting that picture for everybody.
Yeah, bro. Thanks for having me on the show. This was fun.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Adam, thank you for taking time today to share your heart and wisdom with our audience. You came in and you over-delivered, as I expected you would, especially after our conversation off air. Your desire to serve and impact others is evident. You're filled with passion, humility, and you lead with a heart of service and gratitude, which tells me you're going to have Continue to have success in all facets of life, and this is only the beginning of your social impact.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Thanks for having me on. Meant a lot.
My pleasure. All right, Impact Heroes, it's our stories that connect us all, and we loved hearing Adam's today. Adam Jablin, you're not only an inspiring and amazing human being, but you truly are an iSpark Chain's social impact hero. We'll see you all next time.
Do you want Rick to speak at your event? Here's what others have to say.
Did not know his story, and it was so inspirational, and his presence on stage, his authenticity was just incredible.
Absolutely loved his performance. It made me feel some type of way.
If you're looking for a speaker for your next event, hire Rick. I promise you this, you will not be disappointed.
Visit rickcornelis.com to book him today.
Remember, Impact Heroes, every positive action can be a spark moment that has a ripple effect that spreads far beyond the initial act. So go out there and spark change. Don't forget, if you enjoyed this episode, then please smash that 5-star rating on iTunes or Spotify and leave a review. We value your comments and we want to hear from you in the community. Thank you for listening. God bless you, and we'll see you next week on the iSpark Change podcast.